Welcome into the DML Network. It's your boy Expert, and it's the first episode of my new show called Hard Knocks with Expert, where we're going to bring you on the show. We're going to ask you them tough questions that maybe make you a little bit uncomfortable. You don't want to answer. Maybe you don't want to put yourself out there, but if you jump on the show, you're going to have to give me the facts. Nothing but the facts. We don't want to hear no BS. Don't try and beat around the bush. You got to give it to me raw because the Dynasty wants to know. And the first person I had to have on the show, someone that probably deals with more stuff in this league than anybody else, is the head honcho himself, Mr. Nasty Noop. What's going on, Noop?
Not too much, Expert. What's going on with you?
All right, man. The first episode of Hard Knocks. This has been in the works for a little bit. You got all the graphics taken care of for me. You knew what the show was about, and yet you still came on here for me to roast you a little bit. What was your thought process when I said, hey, man, you got to be the first guest on Hard Knocks?
I was a little nervous, man, because I know people are waiting to, poke the bear. So, but I decided to come on anyway, man, and take a chance.
All right, well, we're going to poke the bear first, and then we're going to have a little special edition Hard Knocks. We're going to go over some high stakes rules that I know guys are looking for as next season you put it all on the line. So we'll do a little informative session at the end of this. But first, let's get into a couple things. You the commish of one of the top premier PS4 sim leagues out there, and have been going strong for 6 years. How do you keep your head on your shoulders and not just want to rip your hair out, throw the controller, just run away and stop doing this Dynasty thing?
I will be very honest with you. This cycle has been probably the roughest cycle for me out of all the previous cycles. Just me not really, feeling, Madden 20, me not liking the animations in the game, me not being too excited to play each week, along with, I've been doing it for 5 years consistent. I'm just at the point where I'm kind of burned out and, just really needed a break, and I really didn't get a mental break this cycle. I'm not glad that the coronavirus came around, but it gave me a chance to, since I'm not having to do the grind of work and then come home and do this, it gave me a little bit of time just to stay at the house, spend a little bit more time with the family, please the wife, so she's not on my back as much about playing the game, which has really helped out a lot. Since we really can't go anywhere and I'm stuck in the house, I'm free to do things that I want to do as far as the game goes. So as we're going further and further into this cycle, I'm starting to see a couple things about this version of Madden that I kind of do like. Wasn't a big fan of the X Factors at the beginning of the cycle for a host of reasons, because I think they win animations in some situations where when you're usering, that you're pretty much pulled into an animation that you probably should have won, just because based on your user skill. So I didn't like that, but I'm figuring out a couple of things, so I'm dealing with it now. So I'm just glad that this cycle is almost over.
Would it have been a better cycle if you weren't so bad at the game?
Hey, it always helps to win. I'll be honest with you.
Now, you talked about the grind that you talk about. Is there users in this Dynasty where you look at and you're like, I got to deal with this idiot again?
Oh, it's a couple, man, and I think everybody knows who that is right now, man.
And we'll get to that guy here in a second. But besides him, are there users in this league where you just look up and be like, one of y'all co-commissioners need to deal with this, because if I deal with it, it's a wrap?
Do I have a guy like that this cycle? Man, I don't believe I have anybody like that right now, to be honest with you. Outside of Andre, he was like the only one. Since him, there's really been nobody like that just irked the hell out of me like that.
All right, so let's attack the elephant in the room. You and the Saints user kind of got into it the other day. What is it about? Is it because it's a division mate? But I mean, I don't see you going at C-Rob like that, or the new Panthers guys. Is it because he's a division mate, or is there something about Marizzi that just rubs you the wrong way?
It's just something about him that just rubs me the wrong way. I'm just gonna be honest with you, man. And plus, he has, and I hate to use his language, but he has shit fucked up. I'll be honest with you. He thinks he's good at this game, and he doesn't realize that a lot of his wins come from animation BS. Now, there's certain people now, and I'll use Addy for an example. Addy will tell you, hey, I know this game is BS. The animations help me out sometimes, but he won't never say that. It's always his stick skills, his user skills, his this. No, it's not, man. The animations in this game suck. If you win, like when I win, I'm never happy, man. I don't come on, I don't brag, I don't boast, I don't do any of that, because I know, like, I'm sitting there playing and I'll see some bullshit in the game. I'll be like, yeah, I probably shouldn't have got that, but I'll take it. And then when it goes against me, I'm screaming the same way. So I just don't brag and boast about the game. But when for some reason you think that this game is based on stick skills, and me and you had the same conversation a while back in the DM, this simulation stuff is not really truly based on stick skills. It is truly not. And for anybody that sits there and says the opposite, they're living in fantasy land. I'll be very honest with you. Very honest with you. So that's kind of my issue with him. And I have a couple other issues with him that I'll just keep that to myself.
You brought up the simulation thing. Is we're gonna have a fantasy draft season after high stakes and kind of just relax and have some fun. But you putting it on comp mode. Is that why?
Yep. That's exactly why. Now I wasn't gonna announce that until later on.
Oh, it's too late now.
Yeah,
you can't come on this show. Can't come on this show and keep them. So is there an opportunity that the Dynasty goes comp mode?
Decisions like that, I try to leave up for a league vote. We'll see how the fantasy season goes and see if people actually like that mode better. I know me personally, when I play head-to-head, I have more fun playing the game just based off of, I believe it's more stick skill involved and less of the fluke stuff. Because I can sleep at night saying that this person is better than me at Madden if it's not based on fluke animations, or it's late in the season, I went on a 3-game losing streak and my confidence is crap, and now Madden is just basically giving you every animation just based off of you have a higher confidence level than me. So I'll see. If everybody wants to go there, we can go there. It doesn't matter to me. But my personal opinion right now, just based off of how this game ran this year, I would lean more towards comp mode right now. And I was totally against comp mode when Rex came out with it like 2 or 3 years ago. Oh, comp mode, sim mode. I was totally against it. I was like, you need this in the game. But when people start talking, excuse my language again, when people start talking shit to me that they're better than me over something that I don't have control over, that starts to burn me up. If you beat me because you're better at football than me. Don't beat me because you're better at knowing the animations than me. I don't like that part of it.
Okay. So Dynasty, be on the lookout. That could be coming up on the horizon. One more thing I want to get into before we get into the rules for high stakes and the information part of Hard Knocks. 100 points. We've talked about being a content league since I've been here in the Dynasty for quite some time. And when we made that switch to the content, it was kind of slow at first, if you remember. We had a couple guys that really did things graphically we weren't top notch. And now we look back at kind of what we're doing now, with shows like Numbers Don't Lie, and you got Experts Corner, and you got The Franchise, and all these great shows, Walk the Line. And so we started to put that demand on guys to contribute. Do you get tired of chasing dudes for 100 points in a Madden cycle?
I do. I really do.
When are you going to stop allowing the guys to continue coming to your house? And I'm gonna quote a guy that used to say this all the time in the chat. I'm not finna let you come to my house and get in my refrigerator if you ain't helping pay for the groceries. When are you gonna stop letting guys freeload on one of the greatest PlayStation simulation leagues we got out there?
I think as we go into 21, I'm going to be less tolerant of what I like to call at this point the nonsense. If you're going to be here, you're going to have to contribute in some type of way. And it's not going to be this last minute stuff. Now, I'm very upfront. I'm very honest. I just dealt with 2 individuals in this league that were short as far as getting 100 points. One individual, I told him going into Madden 21, and he knows this because I sent him a DM because I'm very upfront with this stuff. If you do this again in 21, your time here will be very short. Very short. There's no long leash on him because he's on my radar. The other guy, he did things over the cycle. Okay. He said something that kind of pissed me off over the last couple of days. He knows who he is, and he should know who he is, or he will know after listening to this about the little 5 points. That pissed me off. I'll be very honest with you. Why? Because there's a lot of work that goes into keeping this league running all year round. Yeah. There's a lot of people here that carry more of the weight than a lot of other people. So to say something is minute, that was a problem for me because you're spitting on everybody else that works here, that puts in work, that is willing to give up family time, that is willing to give up, free time that they could be doing other things. Like right now, you're recording this show. You don't have to be here to do this, but you're here because you enjoy it and you love the league. So stuff like that, man. So don't try to belittle what we have here. Come to me with the little 5 points. Well, I'll tell you like this right here, man, and you can, take this any way you want. I was talked off the ledge from booting your ass from the league because I took that as a slap in my face that you would say that. I'm not going to say your name, but you know who you are. So, once again, you're on my radar moving forward for that. And the other person knows who they are. They're on my radar. And both of you have a very short leash when it comes to me. And there's nobody in this league right now that can talk me out of booting you when it becomes apparent to me that nothing has changed and that you're still the same. There's nobody gonna be able to talk me off that ledge again. I'm just gonna get rid of you and bring somebody else in here new. And I'm getting a little long-winded, but I want to go back to the new guys that have come up here, that have came in, hit the ground running, and are contributing.
Facts.
I talk about Dabino. I talk about I can't think of his name now. The Panthers use, I can't think of his name right now.
Marley.
Marley, yes. I think about these guys that are new to the league that have come here and worked from day one. So if you've been here a long time and you continue to do nothing, trust me, you can be replaced with people that will come here and work from day one, and we'll keep this thing moving. As I will try to keep this league going as long as I can. But y'all have to understand, I'm getting a little up there in age. And, I don't have the same energy I used to have as far as like running this league. But I will try to keep the content, as crisp and trying to keep pushing the envelope as much as I can. So, but the guys that are here. Oh, and before I get off this, I also want to send a shout out to Chris Murray, because I've seen where he came from as far as his graphics and his shows, to where, I had to hold his hand in the beginning, to now he's off doing his own things. He's already planning for stuff that he wants to do in Madden 21. And
tell you what, man, that martini at EA Play really changed Chris Murray. He just changed. He's a whole different dude now.
Yeah, so
I'll post a picture later so y'all can see what I mean. But yeah, no doubt, Chris Murray's one of those guys, Newt, that you talk about someone that was out of the dynasty and got brought back. And, he's talked about this before on multiple occasions about how it's, what this league has meant to him, the brotherhood that he has created with a lot of guys in here. And then the work that he's put in with Walk the Line. Walk the Line was a beginning show, kind of went away, and he's brought it back, and it's been a powerhouse. Yeah. And so that's kind of what, when a guy sends that kind of message about little 5 points, this is where it pissed Expert off. You got guys, and as much as I don't like, some of these guys like Bus, Tight Work, Sweets, and the Numbers Don't Lie crew, the work that they've put in for that show, not just that, but look about behind the scenes, Luke. And that's one of the things that I don't think guys in this league really understand. It's behind the scenes stuff that, Bus and Tight Work and those guys are doing to get us prepared for other things in the league, stuff that's not even part of their show, things to help the entire league. And you talked about taking away from family time. You got guys that are preparing for the draft, 4 or 5 months before the draft even comes for Madden 21. And so when you say stuff like, oh, what I got to do for these little 5 points to get you off my back, it's not just disrespectful to Newt. It's disrespectful to every guy that's put in time to make this the content-driven league that it is. And I'm not even talking about myself, because there are guys in this league that work harder than I do. This year, I've kind of tried to build my brand on my Facebook gaming page and try and build my name a different way. And so guys will kind of pick the torch up. You know, I got ultimate respect for guys like the Bus and Sweets and Tight Work and Chris Murray and, you know, even the rapid fire guys, which, you know, is new. Come on, man. Talk about rapid fire, dude. Like, we talking about French fries on a Dynasty show. French fries, Noob.
Yeah. And I told them, like, and I tell everybody, like, they were like pushing to get on the DML network, right from the, and I was like, no, because I've been here long enough to see enough fly-by-night shows. You have to prove to me and to everybody else that this is just not a show that you're gonna do a couple shows. You got to do it over a long extended period of time, and then you also have to be getting better at the graphics over time. You have to keep improving. And then once you get to that point that I know that this is not just gonna be some show that's just here for two weeks or 3 weeks, then I'll put you on the big network. Right now you got to continue to play in the minor leagues until I feel comfortable that you know, because like I say, this is a grind. Show me that you can do the grind consistently, keep putting out the good content, keep getting better at it, then I'll move you there, man. I'll give you the password to the account to where you can just upload your show yourself. Chris Murray, he does his own thing. He doesn't go through me for anything. When a new show pops up, I'm just surprised as everybody else that a new show is up. And I've said this for years. I want this league to get to the point to where it's no longer dependent on me. I want to be able to go on vacation, and while I'm traveling, oh, it's a new show on the DML network. Let me see what these cats are talking about, instead of me always having to produce it, put it together, and then put it out. That's what I enjoy about Walk the Line. I have nothing to do with it. Absolutely nothing. So I'm surprised and I hit Chris up I was like, oh, Chris, you picked against me? You gonna piss me off. Now I'm gonna go out and blow this dude out, you know, because you pissed me off. But usually I go out and get my ass whipped, but it's all good, you know. At least I get to talk that noise to him, and we just, you know, go back and forth, man. Because I've told him, man, hey, man, congratulations. I'm proud of you. You know, you don't picked it up and you done kept it moving, man. Because we started off on that show where I was doing everything, and he just took it over and he's doing it himself now.
Yeah, definitely one of the top 3 shows on the DML network, hands down. You know, you could probably put those 3 side by side with Hurt Locker, Numbers Don't Lie, and Walk the Line. I mean, those guys have done an amazing job on all of those shows. So yeah, we're gonna keep rapid fire on the WB for a little bit. You can't get on CBS yet. You got to stay on the WB and put your show out. But you got to listen. You got to put out better content than who got the better French fry, McDonald's or Chick-fil-A. Come on, man. I'm sorry. I can't like step back and be like, y'all got points to talk about fries from McDonald's and Burger King. Like, that don't make no sense to me. All right, Nuke. Now the easy stuff that you can talk about, and it's what everybody is looking for. It's the high stakes rule changes, and we do this every year. So for those guys that are new to the league, or this is their first high stakes, first I want you to talk about, why do we have rule changes that are different for high stakes than we have for the rest of the seasons here for Madden 20?
The rules are different just based off of one, this is the most important season of the cycle, you know, because everybody's playing for that team that they covet in the next version of Madden. So in order for that to take place, you can't have the same stale rules that you've been playing by all cycle. You got to throw some little quirks in there to, you know, trip some people up, and some people will excel more at the rules. So that's why I try to switch them up in high stakes, just to make high stakes feel different, to make it have more meaning than any of the other seasons.
Okay, so let's jump into them. Rule number 1: users are only allowed to hot route 1 player per play. Go ahead and explain that one.
That one just is basically, man, you know, some people come to the line and pretty much just change up the whole play. It was no point in even picking a play. So this way, you have to be very selective on which player you think you're going to need to hard route based on what formation or what defense you think the other user is playing. So if I think you're playing cover 2 and I got my tight end on the line, maybe I'll put him on a hot right, send him right up the middle of the field, because I know my outside receivers are gonna pull those two safeties outside. He's gonna be open wide up the middle of the field. So it's just like once again you're playing that chess match of having to outthink your opponent instead of trying to what I like to sometimes call glitch your opponent to a victory.
Okay. Will that count if you block the running back? Does that count as a hot route?
No, that does not.
Okay, so it's only if you change a wide receiver's route or a tight end's route or a running back's route from the original play call.
Correct.
Okay, next. Users are not allowed to motion players manually. It has to be part of the design play. So kind of explain that of your thinking of why we're going that route and what you mean by that.
This comes back because it was sent to me. It's all over the community where there's a certain route that is able to get wide open no matter what, just because the defensive animation just won't cover it for some reason. So in order to eliminate that and take it off the table this way, unless it's a pre-designed play, which EA is already accounted for in their programming, just gonna take that off the table.
Okay, very, very simple rule. Two easy ones to start. Here's the tough one, the defensive match rule. So the defense must match the offensive personnel. The rule can be adjusted once the offense enters the red zone. So anytime you're inside the 20-yard line of your opponent, all bets are off. You can call whatever defense you want. But what do you mean by match the offensive personnel?
So that just means like if the offense comes out in three wides, you have to match with three cornerbacks on the field. It's basically that simple. You can't come out in the base defense the entire game against a 3 wide or 4 or 5 wide. That's been one of the biggest complaints in my DM all cycle. So instead of making that change during the regular cycle, let's throw it in high stakes.
Okay.
Let's make people, when it truly counts, let's see who made the adjustments over the entire cycle. So that's where that's going to come into play.
Okay, so if your opponent comes out in 2 wide receivers, you basically have to call a base defense, or can I come out in a dime coverage if you're in 2 wide receivers?
You can come out in a dime. You can always go up.
Okay.
You just can't be down, if that makes sense.
Makes perfect sense. So guys, listen, you can always over coverage your defense. If they come out with 3 tight ends, you can come out in 6 defensive backs. But at no point, if they come out in 5 wide receiver, 4 wide receiver sets, can you come out in a base 3-4, base 4-3 with your 2 corners, your 3-4 linebackers, and your down linemen. That will be against the rules, and it will be a violation. And we'll talk about the consequences at the end of these rules. If you, of course, again, if you have questions about these rules, do not, I repeat, Dynasty, do not hit up Nasty Noop in his DM about rules. You need to reach out to 2 individuals, Taz, who is the owner of the Cincinnati Bengals, or myself, Expert, the owner of the Dallas Cowboys. Those are the 2 guys you got to reach out to. If you reach out to anybody else, you're going to be redirected to those 2 people to talk about these rules, even if you have questions before high stakes start. All right, rule number 4. You are only allowed to adjust the coverage of the player you choose to user. So kind of explain that rule, Noob.
Well, this is pretty much, I guess we're going back to Madden
16?
17?
Oh, was it 17?
I think that might be. I think
it may have been 17. May have been 17.
Yeah, Madden 16, I think we were the Wild Wild West at that point.
Correct.
So 17 is where we put this rule in, to where you couldn't change any coverage of any other players on the field. You just had to pretty much just use the one player that you chose to use. So we're just going back to that. It's been a staple of high stakes, so everybody here should be used to this rule. Shouldn't be anything new. Maybe the new guys, it'll take them a while, but at this point, you're no longer able to double the wide receiver with a safety or anything like that, because I know some guys like to do that. They like to take away the number 1 wide receiver. That's not an option right now. You'll have to decide, hey, do I run with the linebacker, or do I play the safety over the top to try to smother the number 1 wide receiver? So some more, like I like to call it, chess moves.
Absolutely. And again, guys, this is just quick adjustments for one individual player. This does not count if you play underneath with your secondary, if you pinch your line, if you spread your linebackers, if it is a group change, that is fine. It's those individual things. If you decide, hey, I want to make my right outside linebacker blitz, so I'm going to quick adjust him, bring him on a blitz, but I'm going to play as the middle linebacker, that will be against the rules.
Correct.
Again, if you have questions, feel free to hit Taz or myself up.
Also, I want to add one thing to this rule before. Now, once you change this player's coverage, you have to stay on him until the ball is hiked. So you can't move to another player until the ball is hiked. So
correct.
You need to know that. So we'll get into the penalties later.
Yeah, if you change your middle linebacker to be as a blitzer and then you go and play as a right outside linebacker, that will be an automatic violation when it gets sent into the league. There will be no gray area there. All right, last one. Both teams must stream at all times. The only person that will be able to give the go-ahead to cut the stream will be Nasty Newt, the head commish. Why are we implementing this rule for both teams? Right now you have to stream and show you playbooks, but the home team at that point can go ahead and stop their stream. Why did we implement this? Both must stream.
This was in play during last high stakes. This is just for violations. You need to be able to see, both teams. We need to be able to go back and review the footage from both squads, just to make sure that everybody is playing on the up and up. As far as why I'm the only one at this point that can cut the stream, it's because it became like we tried to do it over the season to where you're hitting up multiple people. It gets confusing. So in order to cut down on confusion, if it just comes to one person, then it's not an issue. There's no, well, such and such told me I could do it, but this person told me I couldn't. That's off the table now. It has to come from one person, and we'll just do it. But I think it's best if both teams stream, just so that we can have the footage of any violations, because this is a very stressful season. People want to get the highest pick they can, so some people may try to do some funny business. So we'll see.
All right, let's talk about penalties for these violations. So you have 5 rules going into high stakes that are different or a change to what we currently have, as well as the violation is going to change. So what happens if someone does not follow one of these rules, Noop? What happens?
All right, so I like to call them, you have your basic violations. If you do any type of violation, you drop one slot in the team draft. That's just basic. Then you have your, how can I say this?
Egregious violations.
Yeah, you have your
those egregious, where you blatantly are doing something on purpose.
Yes, those come with a 5 slot drop. So I know after this show, I'm going to get a lot of questions about, what that is, and I will get back to everyone what those are. Now, I may, and this is my own personal pet peeve, it's the QB drop back. I'm going to have to see if I'm going to move that to just a 1 slot drop, or if that will be egregious, because at the beginning of this cycle, Madden told us one thing about, QBs falling back, dropping back, that it will enable inaccuracy and all this other stuff. That has not panned out to be what it has been over this cycle.
No.
You can drop back 150 yards and still throw a dot down the field. It just is what it is. So a lot of people ask why that rule is in place. That's why. It's a quarterback in the NFL that can drop back 20 yards and throw a dot down the field, but it's only one, and that's Patrick Mahomes that I've seen. But everybody else is just not. They're just not slinging the ball like that. So.
Okay. So no longer, if you violate one of these rules, are you going to sit a quarterback or a running back?
Nope. You get to have your players all season. You're just gonna be dropping down that team selection draft board.
And that's the most important thing, is you're going to go maybe from picking 10th. We've seen guys that were a top 10 team that ended up picking 17 or 18 based on rule violations. So it's something that does happen. So make sure you guys are clean. You need to make sure you know these rules. All right, one more thing before we get into the big announcement. And that's confidence being reset at the halfway mark of the season. Go ahead and talk about that on kind of your thought process on why we're going to do that, and then kind of what it requires for you to reset confidence for the entire league.
Yeah, so this is going to be a game changer, pretty much. And I'm going to be honest with you. I'm probably going to take this to the board to see if we even roll this over into Madden 21. This confidence stuff is, at this point, it's crap. It's a load of crap and more crap. Because let's say, and when I took it to the board, I gave them this is what I based it on. My real life Falcons started the season, I believe, 1-6 or 1-7. They made coaching adjustments during the bye week, which came like week 7 or 8. They made coaching adjustments. The head coach was no longer the defensive coordinator. He moved Manuel to the defensive coordinator. They went on a run and finished out the season 6-2. But in this game, you can't do that, because if you start off 0-6, your season is over, because your confidence is so low that you're not going to be any team that over the first half of the season that went on a run, because their confidence is way up, yours is down. So no matter what, you're going to start losing more and more animation. So running into high stakes, I have one goal every cycle, and that is to figure out how to make high stakes as competitive and based on stick skills as much as possible. So in me thinking about that, when we get to weeks 1 through 8, you build up your confidence. Come week 9, I have to go into all 32 teams and reset confidence to 0. Meaning that, hey, let's say you had a slow start to the season. It took you a while to adjust to the new players that you brought in from free agency, that you drafted. You finally figured out, what position they best benefited your team. So now, in the current way it's set up, it's a wrap. You got to wait till next season. But now, in the middle of the season, everybody's going to go back to 0. Everybody starts fresh. And if you can win out the rest of the way because you won out the first half, hey, good for you. But if you were losing that first half, going into the second half, now you have a shot to enhance your chances of being a better pick, or maybe ruining somebody else's season because you went on a win streak and maybe you were able to come back and win your division. Nobody knows at this point. But that is like one of the big changes that's coming for high stakes this year. I know some people are going to be upset about this. Some people are going to be mad. But if you step back and you look at it from a competitive standpoint and saying that, hey, if I'm going to win high stakes, I want to know that I beat the best of the best, and I didn't do it with the assistance of confidence. Confidence is crap in this game. It is crap. I don't care what nobody said. Nobody can convince me that it's not. Because if I'm an NFL player, just because I lose 3 games, hey, I may be on a losing streak, but I still believe in myself. My skills don't deteriorate because Joe Blow at wide receiver can't catch the damn ball. I'm still an elite player. So it makes no sense to me. It makes 0 sense. So if you're upset, you just don't believe in true competition. You just don't believe in it, and that's not my issue. That's your issue. So, right. But you can tell people how you feel about it, man, and give your thoughts on it. Or whatever.
I'm kind of on the same page. Before confidence was even put in the game, it was a more balanced. If you lost 3 games, it didn't really affect your star players. And then when they put confidence in, I don't remember a lot of guys in the community coming out and being like, "Man, I'm so glad there's confidence in the game." I was on the Sim Standards podcast with Sim F Ball Critic and Smitty, and we talked about this topic of they need to just take confidence out the game. It's a stupid element of franchise. It makes no sense. It doesn't really help those guys that maybe. And here's how I look at it. Let's say that, and I'll just pick someone. Let's say Chris Murray starts the year and he's got to play Addy 5, he's got to play tight work, and then he's got to go and face Embro and the Packers. There's a good chance he starts 0-3. As good as the OG is, and he's tanked a lot less this cycle than we've seen in any other cycle. And he's had those Steelers playing really, really good. But let's say he starts 0-3. His confidence is in the tank, and it may take him the entire rest of the season to get that confidence back where it's actually benefiting him. And that's not his fault that he got a tough schedule to start when he's a good player. Now, if you're horrible at the game and you just can't buy a win, right? and you're trash, resetting it at 9 is not going to make that big a difference. If you're still bad, you're going to be bad by week 12, by week 13. It's not going to make that big a difference. But what it's going to do is going to tighten that circle up where, certain players aren't going to be, partially God players as they're going out there and mossing 3 people that we've seen in this game because their confidence level is high, plus they're an X factor. So I think it's a good decision. I like it. It just adds another layer to the high stakes season. And like you said, if you don't like it, it means you're not a true competitor. Go out there and win your game, whether the confidence is at 0 or not. You start the season with 0 confidence, it's just going to be like the regular season has started. It's going to be the extra element. But last but not least, we got to talk about one other thing, and that's the Final Four. And we didn't get the Final Four this year as NCAA has canceled their season. But what is the Final Four in Dynasty, and what does that mean for the guys in the league?
The Final Four means that there is no Elite 8 in the DML this cycle. Some people are going to ask why. Some people have been hitching their wagon to that all cycle, that, hey, I can just make it win a wild card game and make it to the Elite 8. Not this cycle. You're going to have to win 2 playoff games and make it to the conference championships in order to lock your spot for Madden 21. This was done because I guess sitting from my position, man, I get to see a lot of stuff, and I think some people just, got, like I say, just lax, man, and, I guess depending on that so much too. I just want to shake it up again. I'm always, like, every cycle, I'm always trying to find a new, something new to, get people fired up, get people motivated to play and to keep going. When it comes to high stake, to keep high stake special.
Right.
Because if I keep it the same, then it's not special anymore. Now it's the Final Four. Now you're playing. Now you have to start planning like, wow, I got to win 2 playoff games now in order to lock my spot in the top 4. Top 8 is no longer available. And in me doing this, I know some people are gonna be like, well, you benefit from this. That's why you did it. And I'll say this, man, I have no problem picking 32 in this draft, to be honest with you. No problem. Everybody knows who my team is.
Falcons go at 32?
Yeah, everybody knows who my team is, so it doesn't matter. So it's never about me. It's about, I have to look out for the guys that are always grinding, man, putting in money, jumping on shows, doing different things. I still have to look out for them, in my fraternity we call that altruism, unselfish devotion and interest to the well-being of other people. Even though I may be carrying 100 pounds on my back, I still have to look out for the people that may not be carrying as much weight as me, because you guys have blessed me enough to be in a so-called leadership position in this league. So unlike some people in this world, I like to lead from the front, and I believe in leadership. Because I've been in the military, bad leadership costs you lives. So I always incorporate that into everything that I do. So for that, you still want to make sure that the people that are keeping this league afloat benefit from their hard work. But you also still want to keep the league competitive to reward the people that are better at the game than everybody else. So for me, this cycle, this was a balancing of the scale. It may go back to 8 next year. I don't know. It just depends on how people react next year to Madden 21. But this year, I figured this balanced the scale a little bit more. And so the Final Four was created, I guess.
Are you worried about not getting the Falcons next cycle? Or better yet, tougher question, do you want the Falcons next cycle?
To be honest with you, I would be lying if I said I don't want the Falcons, but a part of me doesn't want them. I don't want them because I know the cap situation, and I'm going to be behind like 3 or 4 seasons, and not knowing how that game will operate, because we all learned hard this cycle coming out the gate that a pass rusher was the most important thing. There's no pass rusher in Atlanta. No pass rusher. So, and there's a lot of holes on the offensive line and the defensive line. So it's going to be a grind to even try to figure that out. So I don't know. I thought about the Chargers, but I doubt they'll be there when I pick. So
all I know is the Falcons better be available in new picks, no matter what number he picks. Don't be that guy that takes the Falcons away from the commish. Please do not be that guy. Okay, one more piece of business, Dupe. I know you want to talk about maybe some financial stuff for the league before we get out of here. So I'm going to give the floor to you.
Yeah, so I just wanted to do a quick state of the Dynasty to let everybody know where we stand financially as far as the league. Currently, we have $461.63 in the PayPal account. Right now, the plan is to purchase 2 copies of Madden, one for a high stakes winner and one for the fantasy draft league winner. Also, I'm going to look at what's left over, see about paying the league website payment along with daddy leagues. This way I don't have to come back to you guys asking for money or doing that whole thing through July like I've been doing like the last 2 or 3 years. So it kind of helps me out that we have this amount of money in the account. And plus it also helps because during the team draft show we'll be giving away some PSN cards. So maybe $100 of that forward will go towards that to try to get eyes on the draft. And then, once all the bills are paid, or if I'm short and I have to come to you guys, then I'll come to you at that point. But it's nice to have, I guess, this slush fund to where I don't have to, go around begging for money at this point. I really appreciate everybody stepping up, making donations, and doing the other things that you guys do within the league. It's really appreciated. I know a lot of money is going out to create the team draft show that's coming up this year. So it's a new few things. So that has cost money to try to make it fresh and exciting, like always. It's getting to a point to where it's getting a little bit more difficult just because I've done so much, kind of limited at this point. But I still want to kind of keep it to where you guys are impressed when you finally get to see the final product. Outside of that, man, as far as closing out the Madden 20 cycle, it's been a good year. It's a lot of crazy stuff that's going on in the world. Didn't expect us to be at this point already. We moved kind of fast over the last 2 or 3 months, but once I kind of got acclimated to how people were playing their games, it was off to the races at that point. So it's good to be able to get high stakes out the way, coast through the fantasy draft season, and whenever they decide to drop Madden 21, hopefully we'll be able to get some type of downtime, which I look forward to every year, and then get back at it again, man. So that's pretty much the state of the Dynasty at this point. Also, I just want to say this before I go. Sometimes you have to forgive me. I get short with people in the league. Just have to understand like my position and all this stuff, man. When you got 31 different people coming at you with 31 different agendas and hitting you up in a DM or complaining about another user, it gets kind of old at some point. So I may get short with you. Don't charge it to my my head. Charge to the heart, man. I'm just getting to the point where I'm kind of getting burned out and I get short sometimes. So if I get short with you and I start going off on you, just know that it's nothing personal, man. I'm just tired.
Yeah, we got to take feelings out of it, and understand. Sometimes you got to walk away, take a breath, and come back, hit him up in the DM, and kind of breathe a little bit. Let both parties breathe. I think everybody's been through something like that in Dynasty. Be able to go back and kind of, even if it's just, hey, let's agree to disagree and move on. But don't take anything personal, especially over a video game. It's so much more than that. Especially with guys like we have in this league. We've sat down and broke bread together. We've had laughs. We've been out and partied and done everything brothers do. So that means if we do those things, then we're going to fight sometimes too, because that's what brothers do. We just got to be able to work past some of those things. But look forward to seeing how high stakes plays out. Make sure you're on your P's and Q's because there are lots of eyes watching, as now pick 5 through 32 is up for grabs based on points and violations. So make sure you know these rules. If you have a problem, don't forget, hit your boy Taz up or Expert, and we'll explain it to you. If we don't have the answer, we will get the answer and we will get back with you. So just be patient with us. Yeah, looking forward to high stakes. Should be an exciting season. And then looking forward to our fantasy draft league. And then also when people call in and pick their teams for Madden 21, see where everybody goes. I heard the OG Chris Murray's going to Buffalo. But that's a damn lie. It's a lie, Chris Murray, and you know it.
He said he was coming to Tampa Bay. I look forward to it.
He's a lie, and we know it. All right, that has been your first episode of Hard Knocks with your boy Expert. If you get a DM of me asking you to come on Hard Knocks, before you say yes, make sure you are willing to answer tough questions. Don't come on here and be silent and plead the fifth on this show, because you're going to have to be real. You're going to have to give me how you feel. Even if it's going to hurt somebody's feelings, you got to be real. And of course, I want to thank Nasty Newt, man. Always a pleasure when we get to do a show together. Appreciate you jumping on, kind of explaining high stake rules, and then kind of getting your feet put on the fire just a little bit. Not too bad, just a little bit.
No problem.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for us here on Hard Knocks. It's your boy Expert on behalf of the DML Network, and I'm out.